There are cases where the language may be known, but the speaker will not know the language. That's why it's called unknown language. Are you seeing it? For example, when they spoke in Acts chapter 2, they were speaking in languages that were known by the people. But they themselves who were speaking it didn't know the language. So it's not something they learned. It is something happening supernaturally. And we said, a tongue, therefore, is a message for you or a people in an unknown language. And it is given to you supernaturally. And that gift is very important. However, we balanced it. That when tongues is in manifestation, interpretation must also be in manifestation. Because if the message is not interpreted, then the gift is useless. Are you seeing that? That's why every time you receive the gift of tongues, somebody must be present to interpret it. And if somebody is not present, Paul said, pray for interpretation. Because the excellency of that gift comes to play when the interpretation comes. So the first thing we said was what? It's a message in an unknown tongue given supernaturally. The second thing we said about tongues is the fact that diverse kinds of tongues is different from praying in tongues. Praying in tongues is something you do at will. It is a language of your spirit. I'm an Idoma man, so as I grew up and I stayed around Idoma people, I started speaking Idoma. It's a language of my nature, my DNA. That code is in my DNA. My people speak that language. So, because my father spoke it, the code is in my DNA. The code is in my son's DNA. If he grows, after a while, he will start speaking it. And human language generally is in your DNA. If you are 5 years old and you are not yet talking, you are sick, you are dumb. Because it is expected for you to speak. The code of speaking human language is in your DNA. That's what speaking in tongues is. Everybody who is born again has encoded in his spirit man the ability to speak in a spirit language. But that is not a message for a people. Diverse kinds of tongues is a message given in a spirit language for a people. So, although it is a tongue, but it is a message. You are not generating it at will. The Holy Ghost is the one speaking it through you. So, like Paul said in 1 Corinthians 14 verse 14, anytime I want to speak in tongue, I can speak in tongue. He said, when I pray in the spirit, he said, my spirit prayed. He said, my understanding is unfruitful. He now went to verse 15. He said, what will I do? He said, I will pray in the spirit and I will pray in my understanding. So you see that he was doing it by his will. It's not the Holy Ghost that will it. He said, I will. So anytime I want to, I will pray in the spirit. But when it's a message in tongues, you cannot will it. If it's a message in tongues or a diverse kind of tongue, the Holy Ghost will put the message on you. Sometimes you can just be praying with people. While you are praying in the spirit, the message will come. The tongue will change. Sometimes you are preaching. While you are preaching, the message will come. You will deliver it in tongues. When you finish, you go back to normal. It was the Holy Ghost that interrupted your vocal cord and gave you a message in an unknown language. So we said it's important for us to know the difference. Now, people argue most of the times, and what do they say? They say when they prayed in Acts chapter 2 verse 4, people understood them. Why are we praying in tongues now? Nobody's understanding us. They are two different things. What God did in Acts chapter 2 verse 4 is a sign to confirm the prophecy of Joel. And it's a diverse kind of tongue. It's not a prayer in tongues. It's a diverse kind of tongue. If you go to 1 Corinthians 14 verse 2, Paul said when you pray in an unknown tongue, he said no man understand you. He said how be it in the spirit you are uttering mysteries. So you are talking to God. It doesn't need interpretation. God understands every language. Does that make sense? So a tongue is a message supernaturally given in an unknown language. It is different from praying in tongues. Praying in tongues is a language of your human spirit, while diverse kinds of tongue is a message given to you in the language of the spirit. Are you following that? And we said when messages are given in tongues, there must be interpretation. Why is this thing important? And why am I emphasizing it? These are the simplest giftings, but they are the most abused. Somebody can come to a fellowship, people gather, and he carries the microphone. He starts doing like this. And he now move forward and say, Keleku Beha Divaj. Gagibo Bakaya. He will do it for 20 minutes and go back. What have you done, sir? He just wants people to know that he's a spiritual man. When he's doing it, sometimes emotional people, hey, Jesus is here. People will now fall down. And the more people are falling down, he obeke, hehula haki, saha, hubakaka, kea. He will now go home. You have not done anything. Paul said if somebody who is not an unbeliever comes there, he will say you are mad people. When you do that, don't leave there until somebody interpret or you interpret, because you just wasted our time.